In Delhi, she was 23 years old. In Mumbai, she's 22 years old. What has changed from Delhi to Mumbai? What has changed after those massive protests against that gang rape in Delhi? That's the question India is asking today, looking at the impunity of rapists and the impotence of the system to instill a sense of fear in them. Through this evening, we'll be keeping our eye on this story because it is more than a story. It is every woman's battle. It is asking today in independent India why we, women of this country, should need to be scared or vulnerable. Why can't we go out when we like, where we like, and dressed as we like? Well, joining us now are two important voices in this campaign against sexual abuse, against sexual violence. We're joined by Indira Jaising. She's a well-known feminist and presently the Additional Solicitor General of the country. We're also joined from Mumbai by Priyanka Chopra. She's always spoken in against and spoken out against sexual abuse. Indira Jaising, I'd like to start with getting your response to the fact that young women today are saying, I'm going to be careful about moving out after 8 p.m. My parents are saying, don't do this, don't do that. This is the exact outcome, as it were, of sexual violence that violates the right to life, isn't it?
It certainly violates the right to life, but I don't think anxiety is the right response, and people like you and me should not encourage the building up of this anxiety amongst ordinary people, on the street, young or old. There is such a growing culture of violence and intolerance that we see in like every aspect of life around us. It's not just a question of violence against women, it's violence. I mean, a few days ago you saw the brutal killing of Mr. Dabholkar in Pune. Somehow we have replaced civilized ways of behaving with behaving in a violent manner. When it comes to women, it manifests itself in sexual abuse, rape, sexual harassment at the workplace. But obviously anxiety is not the solution to the problem. I do feel that somewhere as a society we have failed, and it's not going to work anymore for us to just blame the police. Yeah. We have to look in other places. And one of the things is that we have to convey information about sex and sexuality to children at a young age, where they learn how to handle themselves and their own sexuality.
Yes.
And the other thing is we can't afford to segregate boys and girls, men and women, and not allow them to intermingle. This creates additional hurdles for being able to handle your sexuality. Now, I'm not suggesting that this was the cause. Remember, this incident is rather different because it was in the context of gang rape. And I think we need to understand that there is a difference between rape and gang rape. Now, when it comes to gang rape, there was a gang here as there was in Delhi.
Yes.
There is a kind of bonding which takes place, a male bonding in a gang. And that kind of adds fuel to the fire and leads to this kind of incident where a group of people together violate a woman's sexuality, and there can't be a bigger crime than that. Now,
let me just interrupt you to say that it's so important that you say that anxiety cannot be the response. The response cannot and should not be parents this evening trying to hold back their daughters, trying to fetter their freedom, trying to say don't do your job. And I'm going to come back to you to discuss some of those things you raised. Yet Priyanka Chopra is somebody who now lives and works in Mumbai. The fact of the matter is that working girls who go on trains or working girls who go and travel by public transport in Delhi, we've all been pawed. I'm including myself in it. We've all had our breasts and our bottoms pinched, breast pawed, bottoms pinched. And in a sense, we are so brutalized as a society that we learn to say, ye to hota hi hai. Thank God we weren't raped. Thank God it wasn't worse. Here's a 22-year-old girl who goes on a photo assignment at 6 p.m. in the heart of Mumbai, and she is gang raped while her colleague is tied up. Now, Indira Jaising, as such a senior lawyer, is saying anxiety cannot be our response. How do we convey to parents today that your response cannot be to lock up your girls and say don't go out after sunset? Your response should not be to hold them back from their dreams.
That's going to be really hard. I mean, I know that my mother today, you know, thinks about when I go out at night or when I go to the studio, who's going to be around me? Am I taking security with me or not? And you're right. You know, we've all had our share of bottom pinching, but it's not about anxiety. It is not about, I think it's about changing mindsets, you know. Now it's high time that we've been playing the blame games, we've been doing the candlelight vigils, we've had outrage, we've been angry, we are still angry. But what about implementation? Where is, it's so fearless. The example of what happened last night and last evening just shows the fearlessness of these people, that laws don't matter. There is no law and order in this country. There is nothing that we are doing to make sure that these laws, even the ones that we have, are implemented at all. And today I'm afraid, being a girl today, and I'm someone who's lucky and fortunate enough to always have security around her. But what about, you know, the girls on my team who have to go home at 11 o'clock at night? I make sure they don't go home alone. It's a really scary time.